Chapter 51. Gaining Everybody's Trust. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 51. Gaining Everybody's Trust. Ms. Gu, you are the great benefactor of our one family. Today, you saved my son and me. I owe you a debt of gratitude. I will definitely repay you for the rest of my life. Ednel.co Wenqing thanked Gu Qingchen sincerely. Although he did not have a good education, he was a person who valued friendship the most. Gu Qingchen had helped him so much. He would definitely repay her. Ms. Gu, although I am not very capable, I swear that whatever happens to you from now on will be my business. If anyone wants to harm Ms. Gu, they will have to step on my corpse and walk over. The others also expressed their gratitude. Gu Qingchen had saved all of them today, and she was their greatest benefactor in this life. Wenqing, get up first. Gu Qingchen spoke, and Wenqing also stood up immediately. He would do whatever Gu Qingchen said in the future. Gu Qingchen glanced at them and asked, I want to know, what do you all do? She had used mind.reading several times today, and she was a little tired now, so she could only ask her questions without mind.reading. She had used mind.reading more than 5 times. Although it would not fail if she used it again, the headache side effect was really annoying. Little Bean answered first, I'm a car mechanic. Ms. Gu, if your car breaks down, you can go to my garage. I won't charge you anything. I'm in the renovation industry. Ms. Gu, if your house need renovation, we'll do it for free. I'm a stall owner. I'll sell anything that makes money. I'll definitely keep it for Ms. Gu when I see something good tomorrow. I drive a taxi. I'll drive you for free wherever you want to go. Wenqing opened his mouth but didn't say anything for a long time. He rubbed his head and felt that he was a little disappointing. I'm just a farmer. I live in the countryside now. If it weren't for my son's eye problems, he wouldn't have come to the city to see a doctor. Ms. Gu, although I'm a farmer, I'm strong and can do any physical work. If you need to do any hard labor, just let me do it. These people's occupations were all at the bottom of society. They earned labor money. Ms. Gu, don't think that we are just a bunch of boorish people. Our boss is amazing. He's the only top student among us. He graduated from a proper university. He's the most knowledgeable one. He works as an accountant in a jewelry store. Wenqing quickly introduced Xiang Yang to Gu Qingchen. Previously, Gu Qingchen had thought that Xiang Yang looked more stable than these people. She did not expect him to be a university student. A university student in 1996 was naturally different from a university student in 20 years later. There were fewer university students these days. Hence, many companies were competing each other to hire fresh graduates. Seeing Gu Qingchen look over, Xiang Yang said a little awkwardly, actually, I'm just a temporary helper, not an official employee. We're all orphans from the countryside. We have no backers and no connections. People like us will most likely be ostracized wherever we work. Hearing this, Gu Qingchen could not help but laugh. She did not expect these people to actually have decent jobs. If they did not say anything, people would really think that they were hooligans. You want to repay me? Everyone nodded, their eyes were very determined. Gu Qingchen nodded and said, what if I ask you all to resign? Resign. Everyone looked at each other and nodded heavily. Whatever you say, Ms. Gu, we will do it. I will tell my boss that I am quitting now. Then I will not set up my stall anymore. Then I'll reject the renovation job that I just accepted. Even Xiang Yang thought for a while and said, I need to hand over the accounting work needs. I need to inform the company in advance. Gu Qingchen nodded in satisfaction. They were all real men, and they were true to their word. Okay, come to the 100 Herb Hall on Business Street next weekend and look for me. Gu Qingchen did not say what she was going to do, and they did not ask. They would know what she was going to do next week anyway. Gu Qingchen left some money for Wen Qing. Wen Qing rejected her a few times, but in the end, he had to accept it. He was secretly grateful. Fortunately, Tang Feng did not go back on his word and gave her the 5 million. Otherwise, she would not have so much money in her hands. When she returned home at night, her father, Gu Yuanchuan, was clearly in a good mood. He realized that there was a lot of business opportunities in the jade business. He had gotten to know Zhou Xiang a little over the past few days and decided to go into the jade business. Gu Qingchen was very supportive to her father. The whole family was quite happy. When she went to bed at night, Gu Qingchen locked herself in her room. She sat on the bed and thought about what happened during the day. Her body was not normal, and it was getting weirder and weirder. Although she had learned some self-defense techniques in the past to protect herself, she had never learned the techniques she used to fight those people today. It was as if her body was reacting on its own, more like muscle memory. After rebirth, not only could she read minds, but her memory was also super strong. Now, she even knew such a powerful fighting technique. If this body was not hers, she would even suspect that this body had been sent to some special base and undergone a series of training. She wondered what Rong Yu would think after seeing what had happened today. After all, even if an ordinary person knew some self-defense skills, it was impossible for them to be as good as a female special agent like she did today. Gu Qingchen's worries were correct. After Rong Yu returned, he had people start a new investigation on Gu Qingchen. Since she was going to be his personal physician, he had to find out the details. Especially the tricks that Gu Qingchen showed today shocked Rong Yu a little. Could it be a coincidence? Impossible. He never believed in coincidences, so he had to get to the bottom of this matter. Gu Qingchen did not think too much about it, because she had to attend the interview at Hongfeng Elite School the next day. She had already told her parents about her idea, and her parents were very supportive of it. The next morning, Gu Qingchen got up early to attend the interview at Hongfeng Elite School. She must not to be late. Initially, Mr. Gu and Mrs. Gu wanted to go with her, but Hongfeng Elite School had its own rules. Students who went to attend the interview had to go on their own and couldn't be accompanied by their parents. What Hongfeng valued was individual independence and cultivating an independent character. Gu Qingchen did not squeeze into the bus. Instead, she took a taxi and went straight to Hongfeng Elite School. The 200-meter distance between the two sides of Hongfeng Elite School's gate was forbidden for vehicles. Everyone had to walk to the school gate. When Gu Qingchen got out of the taxi, she still saw students were with their parents. However, these parents only drove their children to the drop-off zone. The car was parked outside, and the students entered the school by themselves. Gu Qingchen, I'm here. Han Jingxiu had just arrived and happened to see Gu Qingchen. He ran towards Gu Qingchen. You're here so early too. Han Jingxiu was very happy to see Gu Qingchen. He had been worried that Gu Qingchen would not come. Chapter 52. Isn't it feels great? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 52. Isn't it feels great? Anyway, Han Jingxiu was relieved to see Gu Qingchen coming. The two of them walked together to the entrance of Hongfeng Elite School. Han Jingxiu seemed to be very confident that he could pass the exam, but he was a little worried about Gu Qingchen. Well, have you thought about what you want to show off? Gu Qingchen shrugged. She looked relaxed, obviously knowing what to do. Han Jingxiu let out a sigh of relief. He hesitated for a moment and said, there's one more thing I haven't told you. Actually, Gu is also coming here for the interview. Even though he rarely came to school, he had heard some rumors about the relationship between Gu Qingchen, and Shi Wei. Gu Qingchen was a little surprised. Han Jingxiu nodded and saw Gu Qingchen chuckle. There was a hint of sarcasm in her tone. Does he have any talent for the interview? Han Jingxiu was stunned. He had always thought that Gu Qingchen liked Ngu. Ngu was indeed the most popular and handsome guy in the school. Gu Qingchen and Ngu were quite close before, but then something happened at Gu Qingchen's house. Then, their relationship had changed. Now that Ngu was also here for the interview, he wondered would Gu Qingchen feel awkward if the two of them met. Gu Qingchen's contemptuous tone made Han Jingxiu mistakenly think that Gu Qingchen still couldn't let go of Ngu. He thought that she still cared about Ngu, so she used a contemptuous tone to hide some of her emotions. What Han Jingxiu didn't know was that if Gu Qingchen hadn't been reborn, she might have felt a little awkward when she saw Ngu. But after her rebirth, when she saw Ngu again, her feelings towards him had long disappeared other than contempt. There was no need to waste such emotions on someone like Ngu. It was really not worth it. Han Jingxiu could tell that Gu Qingchen did not want to talk about Han Jingxiu, so she simply did not talk about him. I almost forgot. Your family did not send you over, right? Han Jingxiu suddenly remembered something important. He had actually forgotten to remind Gu Qingchen. Gu Qingchen shook her head. No, Han Jingxiu was relieved when he heard her reply. Then, he said to Gu Qingchen in a sneaky manner, did you see that? Some of the students were accompanied by their parents. Although these parents did not walk with their children to the campus and had dropped them off a few hundred meters away, these students are no longer qualified to be near Hongfeng. Han Jingxiu said in a low voice, the people of Hongfeng Elite School specially have someone to check on the students. It's just that they are hidden in the crowd so that no one will notice them. Gu Qingchen did not know about this. She did not expect the Hongfeng Elite School to be so strict. Fortunately, she did not ask her parents to send her over. Otherwise, she would not be able to get in. Yan Xiaoju. Who told you to come here? Get lost. This is not a place where you can come. Suddenly, a voice exploded in the crowd. It was not a soft voice. Many students who came for the interview heard it. Gu Qingchen was not interested in other people's affairs, but when she heard the name, she stopped and looked in the direction of the voice. She saw a girl in an old school uniform with a ponytail standing there. She was thin and looked very weak. Another girl with a pretty face, well-dressed, and dazzling looks stood there arrogantly. She looked at Yan Xiaoju with disdain in her eyes. Seeing Gu Qingchen stop, Han Jingxiu also looked over curiously, do you know her? Gu Qingchen just squinted at Yan Xiaoju, no one could tell her expression. Let's go and have a look. Gu Qingchen walked over with big steps. She only saw a side profile of Yan Xiaoju, so she was not sure if it was her. I want to try too. Yan Xiaoju sounded uneasy, as if she was afraid of another girl. You want to come to Hongfeng too? This is ridiculous. Is this a place where a lowly person like you can come? Why don't you look in the mirror and see what kind of person you are? Get lost quickly. I don't want to see an illegitimate daughter like you every day in the future. Needless to say, this girl was definitely Yan Xiaoju's sister. Yan Xiaoju kept her head down and did not leave. She just stood there as if she was struggling. Why aren't you leaving? Are you waiting for me to call someone to drag you out? Humph, you are indeed a cheap B*****. You'll never be able to get rid of your cheap nature. At this time, there were more students surrounding them. Many of them began to point at Yan Xiaoju. After all, Yan Xiaoju was dressed in shabby clothes and was said to be an illegitimate daughter. In this era, the identity of an illegitimate daughter was very awkward, and she was ostracized by the others. Yan Xiaoju stood there with her hands clenched into fists, but she unwillingly let go. In the end, she suddenly raised her head and stared at Yan Jiaoyue with her bright eyes. This interview is evaluating the talent of the students, not family background, isn't it? Why can't I come? I have the right to go for it. Yan Jiaoyue, you are not the only gifted child in this world. Gu Qingchen was sure that this girl Yan Xiaoju that she knew. So, you are going against me. Yan Xiaoyue sneered. She did not care about Yan Xiaoju at all. I am not going against you, but you are taking shoots at me everywhere. I will not leave. I won't go down without a fight. Yan Xiaoyue took a few deep breaths. She wanted to find someone to drag Yan Xiaoju out. However, because of the rules of Hongfeng, she could not be accompanied by her parents. The people who came with her today were also a few hundred meters away. She could not call anyone. In addition, Yan Xiaoju was usually very obedient. Yan Xiaoyue took a step forward and reached out her hand to slap Yan Xiaoju. However, Yan Xiaoyue never expected that before she could slap Yan Xiaoju, Yan Xiaoyue was sent flying and landed heavily on the ground. Yan Xiaoyue was completely stunned. She did not know what was going on. She only felt that her buttocks and her stomach hurt badly. She had been kicked. Among the surrounding students, there was also a burst of exclamations. They looked behind Yan Xiaoju in surprise. Yan Xiaoju was also stunned. She quickly turned around and saw Gu Qingchen, who looked cold and detached. You! Yan Xiaoju was extremely shocked. Ever since she was young, no one had stood up for her. Even her father had been cold to her and would even hit her. Gu Qingchen was not related to her at all, yet she kicked Yan Xiaoyue away at the entrance of Hongfeng Elite School. If Hongfeng Elite School found out about this, Gu Qingchen would probably be disqualified. Yan Xiaoju could tell that Gu Qingchen was also a student here for the interview. However, she had to admit that when she saw Yan Xiaoyue being kicked away by someone, she felt an indescribable sense of pleasure. All she could say was, "Thank you." Although she could not express her gratitude, she still wanted to say this. Gu Qingchen was the first person to stand up for her, and she would remember it for the rest of her life. The corners of Gu Qingchen smiled gently, and a sly look flashed across her eyes. She asked Yan Xiaoju in a low voice, "Isn't it feels great?" Yan Xiaoju's entire body stiffened, and she looked at Gu Qingchen in a daze. Chapter 53. Like old friends at first sight. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 53. Like old friends at first sight. After a long while, Yan Xiaoju met Gu Qingchen's clear eyes and nodded her head firmly. She said, "Yes, it was great." For some reason, after Yan Xiaoju said this, Gu Qingchen and she had an indescribable feeling of affinity. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. An invisible feeling flowed between the two of them. Yan Xiaoju never knew that one day, she would meet a friendly stranger, and they would hit it off so well when they first met. Gu Qingchen's kick was Yan Xiaoju's biggest wish in all these years. Unfortunately, she was forced to be helpless and did not dare to kick him out. And today, Gu Qingchen kicked Yan Xiaoyue away, completely fulfilling her wish. The surrounding students were only there to watch the show. They all knew clearly that both Gu Qingchen and Yan Xiaoju had gotten into trouble. Fighting at the entrance of Hongfeng Elite School, their heads must have squeezed by the door. The crowd dispersed. No one went to help Yan Xiaoyue. No one wanted to cause trouble, because there was no need to take the risk for a stranger. "My name is Yan Xiaoju. What's yours?" Yan Xiaoju said generously. "Gu Qingchen." Gu Qingchen smiled and said without looking down on Yan Xiaoju. Yan Xiaoju knew that she looked very embarrassed, but Gu Qingchen did not look down on her at all. This comforted Yan Xiaoju a lot. Han Jingxiu looked at the two of them and then said to Yan Xiaoju in a friendly manner, "My name is Han Jingxiu. I'm Gu Qingchen's desk mate." "Hello." Han Jingxiu took the initiative to extend his hand. Yan Xiaoju was only stunned for a moment before she shook hands with Han Jingxiu. She did not look petty at all. "Nice to meet you. Are you here for the interview as well?" Yan Xiaoju took the initiative to talk. The three of them did not feel awkward and the conversation was very comfortable. Han Jingxiu was a little curious. He thought that Gu Qingchen knew Yan Xiaoju and that was why she lent a helping hand. Now it seemed that the two of them did not know each other. This was a little strange. When did Gu Qingchen become so enthusiastic? Yes, we are also here for the interview. By the way, do you still want to care about the one lying there? Han Zhengxiu pointed at Yan Jiaoyue who was still lying there and reminded Yan Xiaoju. Gu Qingchen and Yan Xiaoju both looked at Yan Jiaoyue and then shook their heads tacitly. Serves you right. Serves you right. The two of them smiled at each other and left together, no longer looking at Yan Jiaoyue. The miserable Yan Jiaoyue lied there in a sorry state. No one cared about her. She immediately felt wronged and burst into tears. Unfortunately, no one paid attention to her. Han Zhengxiu walked over and looked down at Yan Jiaoyue. When Yan Jiaoyue saw that someone was coming, she immediately had a good impression of Han Zhengxiu. Seeing that Han Zhengxiu was also very handsome, she felt a little shy. The handsome man must have seen that she was being bullied, so he came over to help her. But who knew? Reality and imagination always went against each other. Han Zhengxiu looked at Yan Jiaoyue and then said, "Well, at least you're not dead." Then he turned around and left, with no intention of pulling Yan Jiaoyue. Yan Jiaoyue was full of hope, but she was crushed by Han Zhengxiu. Gu Qingchen, Han Zhengxiu, and Yan Xiaoju entered the main gate of Hongfeng School. Hongfeng School was indeed a noble school. Even the main gate was so exquisite. The main gate had a grand look. Those who did not know would think that it was the main gate of a palace. It looked high-profile, but it was very simple and looked majestic. At the same time, there was also a feeling of being cut off from the world. After entering the gate, there was no teacher to receive them. There were only 2 students. There was a sign stated, "Receptionist," hanging around their necks. When they saw the students who had come in for the interview, they gave each of them a document bag. The document bag was sealed and had not been opened before. You can open the document bag. There are things that you need to do next. Please follow the instructions inside and go for the interview. The receptionist did not say anything more. She only said the main point and ignored the students who were interviewing. Gu Qingchen and the other 2 took out a document bag and opened it. There was a piece of paper inside. On the paper, there was a very simple description of where they needed to go for the interview. Boya Building's Multimedia Hall. What is that place? Han Zhengxiu read out his location. Gu Qingchen looked at her own paper. On it was the Bowen Building's History Hall. Obviously, the 2 of them were not in the same place. And Yan Xiaoju was also in a different place. Let's find it ourselves. There should be a road sign. It had to be said that some of Hongfeng's practices were really different from other schools. Other schools allowed parents to accompany them. There would be many teachers who were responsible for receiving them. They would not let the students find a teaching building that they had never heard of in an unfamiliar environment. All of these practices were sending a message. Hongfeng Elite School required the students to be independent, have their own opinions, and emphasize personal ability. In the past, Gu Qingchen did not have much of a concept of Hongfeng. Now, she already had a good impression of Hongfeng through this interview. It was no wonder that such a school would produce so many talents. One had to know that the students who left Hongfeng were all elites. No matter what field they were in, Hongfeng students would always be much more outstanding than the others. It seems that we will have to leave separately. Can the 2 of you do it? Han Zhengxiu quickly understood Hongfeng's intentions. He did not flaunt his gentlemanly demeanor at this time and reported that he was brave enough to send Gu Qingchen and Yan Xiaoju off. Gu Qingchen and Yan Xiaoju both shook their heads. Gu Qingchen glanced at Han Zhengxiu and Yan Xiaoju and said with a smile, "I hope that we will be the alumnus of this school in the future." "Yes, I will work hard." The light in Yan Xiaoju's eyes was something Gu Qingchen had never seen before. After finding the road sign, the three of them parted ways and went to find their respective interview locations. Gu Qingchen was at Bowen Building. She was not in a hurry and walked over slowly. However, her mind was filled with memories of Yan Xiaoju. She knew Yan Xiaoju, but Yan Xiaoju did not know her. The reason was simple. The Yan Xiaoju she knew was the Yan Xiaoju many years later. At that time, the two of them met when they were drug test subjects. There was once when Gu Qingchen was not in good condition that day and the side effects of the drug at that time were greater. The researchers did not care whether the drug test subject was comfortable or not. Naturally, they did not stop the test just because Gu Qingchen was not feeling well. At that time, among so many people, it was Yan Xiaoju who stood out and volunteered to replace Gu Qingchen. Later on, the two of them became good friends. The two of them talked about many things about themselves. When Gu Qingchen met Yan Xiaoju here, these memories surged up to her mind. Yan Xiaoju had told her before that the thing she regretted the most in her life was not being able to attend the interview at Hongfeng that year. In the end, she ended up becoming a drug test subject. When Gu Qingchen saw Yan Xiaoju, her heart was beating violently. There was a crazy idea in her mind. She wanted to change Yan Xiaoju's fate. If she could change her own fate, why couldn't she change Yan Xiaoju's? Chapter 54. The interview began. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 54. The interview began thus. Gu Qingchen did what Yan Xiaoju had always wanted to do but had not done. She kicked that evil woman, Yan Jiaoyue, away. She had heard from Yan Xiaoju that if it were not for Yan Jiaoyue, she would not have been forced to be a drug test subject. Fortunately, Yan Xiaoju had a strong character, so she was not defeated. Since the heavens wanted her to meet Yan Xiaoju again, Gu Qingchen naturally had to help her. The reason was very simple. Yan Xiaoju had helped her before. Gu Qingchen walked all the way and found the history hall of Bowen Building. When she reached there, Gu Qingchen saw that there were other people waiting there. There were not many people, but the atmosphere was very tense. There were two girls who seemed to know each other and were discussing in low voices. Qing, do you think our chances are high? I saw that the students who came out just now were all dejected. I asked one of the students what they were asking, but he didn't say anything. I'm a little nervous. Lei, don't worry. You're such a good dancer. You've been learning ballet since you were 3 years old. The teachers will definitely like your elegant dance. Unlike me, I've only studied painting. I should be the one to worry. Qing, you're too modest. I've seen your paintings. Even those so-called famous painters aren't as good looking as you. I don't think you have a problem. You'll definitely be selected. Gu Qingchen just stood there and listened to the two people complimenting each other. She didn't probe whether the two of them really thought each other was good or just complimenting each other. Soon, the two girls entered the history hall one after another. When the two of them came out, they all looked sad. The one called Qing even cried, looking very miserable. Gu Qingchen was a little curious. What did the interviewer say to make these students come out with such expressions? Perhaps, these students' psychological endurance was too poor. When it was Gu Qingchen's turn, there were a few people who had failed the interview who had not left. They probably wanted to see if anyone passed the interview. Gu Qingchen did not think too much about it. She tidied up her clothes and entered the history hall. The history hall had an ancient look. The atmosphere of history and culture was very strong. The calligraphy, paintings, historical figures, and documents hanging on the walls were very old. Gu Qingchen felt that these were authentic. The history hall was also very big. As soon as she entered, she saw that the first row of 10 seats in the hall was filled with people. These people were all interviewers. The interviewers were all dressed very formally. One would think that this was not an entrance interview, but an interview for a large-scale enterprise to recruit talents. As expected, Hongfeng's style was different from other schools. After Gu Qingchen walked in, one of the interviewers said, "Sit." Gu Qingchen took a glance and calmly walked to the seat. She was not in a hurry to sit down, but instead stood there and introduced herself. "Hello, teachers. My name is Gu Qingchen." After that, she sat down. The moment she sat down, the teacher sitting in the middle spoke in a serious tone. "Were you the one who got into a fight at the school gate and kicked the person away?" She did not expect that the teacher for the interview would say such sharp words the moment she opened her mouth. She did not expect that the news of what had just happened would spread so quickly and that the teacher would recognize her. Hongfeng was indeed Hongfeng. Although Gu Qingchen was surprised, she did not show it on her face. Her eyes were clear as she looked at the teacher who asked the question. "Correction, I did kick her away, but it was not a fight. It was just a one-sided beating." Ha! Hearing Gu Qingchen's answer, many teachers were shocked. They felt that Gu Qingchen's student was not only honest, but also a little special. If ordinary students were asked about this, they would either deny it or try their best to minimize their own mistakes. In any case, they would try their best to clear their names. However, not only did Gu Qingchen not do so, but she also even admitted it openly and said that she was beating someone up. As a student, you attacked a stranger before the interview in Hongfeng. Do you think that our Hongfeng elite school would want a student with such a bad behavior like you? Another female teacher asked. Her tone was raised by an octave, and it made people nervous. Gu Qingchen glanced at the female teacher, narrowed her eyes, and smiled lightly. "Isn't swift fighting a kind of talent? I just showed you how good my talent is." Pfft. A few teachers who couldn't hold it in nearly burst out laughing. They hurriedly coughed to cover it up. Gu Qingchen's answer was really shocking. "According to what you said, if Hongfeng has another interview in the future, everybody will fight into a mess at the entrance," the female teacher continued to say with a cold face. "No. I've made a bad example. If Hongfeng doesn't take precautions, then it won't be called Hongfeng anymore, right?" Gu Qingchen answered the question casually. There wasn't a trace of fear in her answer. Instead, she defeated the female teacher. After Gu Qingchen finished speaking, the teachers were silent for a while and exchanged glances with each other. Gu Qingchen just sat there and waited. Her eyes were clear and there was no trace of anxiety in them. The teachers still did not speak and left Gu Qingchen there. Time passed by and no one spoke to Gu Qingchen. Gu Qingchen's expression was still calm. Were they trying to make her nervous in this way? It was indeed a little difficult. Gu Qingchen had already read their intentions from the female teacher's mind. These teachers were using this method to test the students' willpower and endurance. Gu Qingchen's willpower and endurance were both amazing. As a drug test subject who needed to endure many drug tests, they needed to have a strong heart. Otherwise, they would not be far from breaking down. However, it had to be said that many students who had not experienced the cruelty of the society would not be able to withstand Hongfeng's intimidating methods. Not to mention these students, even many adults would probably fall into disarray in the face of such a situation. Therefore, regardless of what talents a student had, just their EQ was much higher than the others. Gu Qingchen liked Hongfeng Elite School even more. After about 10 minutes, Gu Qingchen sat there like an old monk in meditation. Her expression was the same as when she first came in. She was not disturbed by them. "Gu Qingchen, what talents do you have for the interview?" Finally, the male teacher who asked the first question spoke again. Gu Qingchen smiled. It seemed that she had passed the personal ability test. As long as she could pass the test, she would be able to enter Hongfeng Elite School. Does hitting someone does not count as talent? Gu Qingchen asked another question, and the teachers choked again. Only then did the teacher who asked the question say, "Of course it doesn't count. If it does, wouldn't those local hooligans be able to enroll in Hongfeng?" Chapter 55. Genius. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 55. Genius. Gu Qingchen nodded her head regretfully, agreeing with the teacher. Since hitting people doesn't count as talent, then saving people must be a talent. Gu Qingchen had thought about it before. Since her ability to read minds and super strong memory could not be used as her talent, then she could still use medical skills that she learned from Dr. Hua. After all, the Hongfeng school wanted students with individual talent. The requirement should not be too harsh. She had read from the teachers' minds that the reason Hongfeng tested the students' psychological quality first was because they valued it the most. As for students' talents, Hongfeng would help the students to improve their talents, so it was not the first priority. Finally, the teachers looked at Gu Qingchen more normally. How do you save a person? Tell us. Gu Qingchen stood up and walked to the teacher at the side. She smiled at the teacher and said, "Teacher, can you please extend your hand?" The teacher at the side didn't understand her purpose, but he extended his hand. Gu Qingchen's fingers touched the teacher's pulse. Then, she asked the teacher to change his hand to take the teacher's pulse. She smiled at the teacher. "Thank you," she said. She straightened her body and said slowly under the curious gazes of the teachers. "Teacher, your heart is not very good. If I'm not wrong, it should be because the mitral valve of your heart is not closed, which could easily cause the blood to flow back. Thankfully, it's not serious and doesn't require surgery for the time being. However, you have to take care of yourself and not tire yourself out. You need to go to the hospital frequently for a follow-up check." Gu Qingchen told the teacher about his condition and also told him some things that he needed to pay attention to. The teacher's eyes were wide open when he heard that. Only he and his doctor knew about his condition. He did not even tell his family because he was worried that his family would be worried. Back then, he had chest pain and had to go to the hospital for multiple checks before he was finally diagnosed. However, Gu Qingchen had only touched his pulse and she was able to accurately describe his condition. It was really too shocking. "What? Mr. Lin, you have a heart problem. Why haven't I heard about it from you?" When the other teachers heard this, they were all very surprised and they hurriedly asked Teacher Lin. Mr. Lin smiled a little awkwardly. "I got the result not long ago and I was diagnosed a few times before the result came out. My family doesn't know yet and I didn't tell the school about it too." "Oh my God, does that mean that Gu Qingchen is so capable to diagnose you accurately?" For a moment, some people were concerned about Mr. Lin's condition, and some were amazed by Gu Qingchen's power. "Gu Qingchen, take a look at me." Ms. Zhou, who was beside Mr. Lin, also spoke up. She wanted to see if Gu Qingchen was really capable or if she was just bluffing. All the teachers quieted down and stared at Gu Qingchen. Gu Qingchen didn't hesitate and walked up to Ms. Zhou. Ms. Zhou had already reached out his hand and Gu Qingchen placed her finger on it. A minute later, she spoke slowly. "Ms. Zhou, there's nothing wrong with your body. It's just that you have a sensitive constitution. You have to avoid eating many things. When spring comes, your skin allergy will become serious." Many people knew that Ms. Zhou was a picky eater, but they did not know that she had a sensitive constitution. No wonder. "That's right. I do have a sensitive constitution. I'm impressed that you can diagnose it." She had never seen a doctor who could check the pulse and give such an accurate conclusion so quickly. In fact, what she did not know was that it was not so easy to determine whether it was a sensitive constitution or not. Gu Qingchen could read minds, so naturally, she could understand the patient's condition more easily than other doctors. Gu Qingchen had checked 2 teachers. The other teachers were also moved. They all stretched out their arms for Gu Qingchen to take a look. Gu Qingchen looked at them one by one at a steady pace. "Ms. Yang has liver fire prosperity. Is it because you have insomnia recently, and your temper is a little irritable? Do you have dizziness, weakness, and heat? I suggest you take some gentian liver. Purging pills to recuperate yourself, Ms. Yang. Ms. Liu has a kidney deficiency. The dark circles and yellowish-brown spots are caused by kidney deficiency. If it goes on for a long time, you will have irregular menstruation, and your waist and legs will be sore. Ms. Liu, I suggest you have better sleeping habit, exercise more and eat more food that is good for your kidneys. As for Mr. Meng, your body is not bad. You just have a mouth ulcer recently. You just need to take more vitamin B2. Gu Qingchen spoke one by one. The teachers' faces were filled with shock and surprise. They had seen many talents in dancing, singing, painting, reciting, and so on. Gu Qingchen's post-diagnosis ability made them feel amazed. Most importantly, Gu Qingchen was right. It would take at least 8 to 10 years for someone to have such abilities. Gu Qingchen, how long have you been studying medical skills? The first teacher who asked the question was Mr. Meng. He asked another question. Gu Qingchen just smiled and returned to her chair. She sat down and straightened her back. I haven't studied medicine for long, about half a month. What? Half a month? Are you kidding? How is that possible? Even if they didn't know medical skills, they knew that traditional Chinese medicine was broad and profound. Even if it was just a simple post-diagnosis, it would require many years of experience. Gu Qingchen had only studied for half a month. How could they believe it? This was too unbelievable. Gu Qingchen, do you know what our Hongfeng school values other than individual talent? That is personal character. Honesty is also a test. If Gu Qingchen hadn't treated them and given them a lot of advice, the teachers wouldn't have given the students any hints. The reason why Mr. Meng gave Gu Qingchen hints was to give her a chance to tell the truth. Gu Qingchen smiled helplessly, but she could only say, Mr. Meng, I did take Dr. Hua of the 100 Herb Hall at the business street as my master half a month ago. If you have any doubts, you can consult him. Dr. Hua of the 100 Herb Hall. Gu Qingchen had just finished speaking when she heard Mr. Lin, who had a heart problem, exclaim in surprise. Mr. Meng looked at Mr. Lin and asked, Mr. Lin, do you know Dr. Hua? Of course I do. Dr. Hua is very famous. I originally planned to go to the 100 Herb Hall to see him. Gu Qingchen was not surprised at all. When she went to the 100 Herb Hall for the first time, she heard from Elder Yuan that many people came because of his fame. This meant that her master's medical skills were very high. If Mr. Lin wants to go, I can inform my master. He has been in seclusion recently and rarely sees patients. Once these words were said, the teachers naturally knew that it was not fake. In other words, Gu Qingchen had only studied medical skills for half a month, and she was already at such a high level. Genius. She's an absolute genius. This was the kind of talent that Hongfeng wanted. Chapter 56. Pretty girl, you are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 56. Pretty girl Gu Qingchen came out of the history hall without a trace of depression. She looked the same as when she went in. The students who were waiting outside were also very curious. The girl named Qing Qing walked to Gu Qingchen's side and asked, Miss, have you been accepted? Gu Qingchen glanced at Qing Qing and then said, whether or not we are accepted, we have to wait for the notification. Qing Qing was a little disappointed and murmured, it seems that we don't have a chance. I heard that in other places, the interviewers will give the students some hints. Since Gu Qingchen was not informed immediately, she could not get anything out of her. Qing Qing walked past Gu Qingchen and stood there waiting for the next person to come out. Gu Qingchen did not care. She just felt that Qing Qing was ignorant. Even if someone else passed the interview, what did it have to do with her? It was a waste of time to stay here. Gu Qingchen left first. When she was leaving, she bumped into Yan Jiaoyue on the way. Yan Jiaoyue did not expect to meet Gu Qingchen here. Now that there was no one around, Yan Xiaoyue was really worried that Gu Qingchen would attack her again. Looking at Yan Xiaoyue who was running towards Bowen building, Gu Qingchen sneered. At the same time, she felt sorry for Yan Xiaoju. She was forced to be a test subject by a person who bullied the weak and feared the strong. It didn't seem like Yan Xiaoju's personality at all. But fortunately, she was reborn and met Yan Xiaoju. Heaven was fair to her. Gu Qingchen thought for a moment and waited for Han Zhengxiu and Yan Xiaoju at the door. Yan Xiaoju came back first. It seemed that the interview went well. Han Zhengxiu came back later, but looking at his relaxed expression, there should be no problem. Did you pass? Han Zhengxiu asked a little excitedly. Yan Xiaoju looked at Han Zhengxiu who was so enthusiastic, and her face was a little red. After all, they were all in puberty. In the past, all the boys revolved around Yan Xiaoyue, so she basically did not have much presence. Han Zhengxiu was the first boy who took the initiative to talk to her. He was pretty handsome, so Yan Xiaoju felt a little shy. I think I have passed. The teacher gave me a hint. Yan Xiaoju passed. Han Zhengxiu heard it and was immediately amused. That's great. I have passed too. We will be schoolmates from now on. Oh right, Gu Qingchen, what about you? Han Zhengxiu still cared about Gu Qingchen very much. He believed that Gu Qingchen should have passed the interview because even Yan Xiaoju got it as well. Gu Qingchen rubbed her nose, about that. I really don't know. The teachers didn't say anything. Didn't say anything. Are you sure? Didn't the teacher in the interview give you any hints? For example, let you go back and make some preparations. Han Zhengxiu was a little confused. Usually, the teacher would give some hints. Could it be that Gu Qingchen didn't give any hints? Gu Qingchen did not pass the exam. Then, what should he do? I heard that the history hall did not give hints. Qingchen, you are so talented, you will definitely be chosen. Yan Xiaoju comforted her, but she was also worried. She did not have many friends in her life. It was not easy to meet one. She also hoped to be able to study in the same school as Gu Qingchen. Compared to the two of them, Gu Qingchen was not worried at all. She stood there calmly. We'll cross the bridge when we come to it. They haven't given us the official notice yet. Maybe it will give us a surprise when the time comes. It was true that the history hall did not give any hints, but Gu Qingchen read from the teacher's mind that she had passed the interview. Gu Qingchen looked at her watch. It was still early, so she asked, where are you going next? Yan Xiaoju shook her head and smiled bitterly. I'd better go back now. If possible, she would rather not go back to that home. But now was not the time. She was still young and had to go to school. She could not be truly independent, so she had to continue staying at that home. Han Zhengxiu's eyes lit up and suggested, why don't we go to Haitian Park? I read in the newspaper that Haitian Park is open for a week, and we can go and play as we like. Today is the last day of free access. Upon hearing that it was free, Yan Xiaoju was also tempted. If Han Zhengxiu suggested shopping, she might not participate. She did not have the money and shopping was not suitable for her. Yan Xiaoju had wanted to go to the park before, but her family never took her out to play. Going to a park was a luxury to her. Now that Haitian Park was free to enter, she was naturally tempted. Gu Qingchen was also quite interested. Before she was reborn, there were all kinds of interesting entertainment facilities after her family went bankrupt. Haitian Park was one of them. She wanted to have fun in those places, but she had debts. She wished she could have 48 hours in a day to make money. Until she died, she did not have a good time to play. The three of them were very interested and decided to go to Haitian Park. They took it as the advanced celebration for them to be accepted by Hongfeng School. When they arrived at Haitian Park, they were really surprised by the people inside. My God, there are so many people. The queue must be very long. Han Zhengxiu touched the back of his head and suddenly felt a little dizzy. When did City Y have so many people? Let's go. Let's play as many games as we can. We're here to feel the joyous atmosphere here. If there's nobody else here, it will not be as fun. Although Gu Qingchen also felt that the park was a bit too crowded, she was still in a good mood. Yan Xiaoju also nodded. Let's find those we like and queue up. The three of them also played a lot of games. During the break, Gu Qingchen went to buy some food back. Yan Xiaoju and Han Zhengxiu were a little embarrassed, especially Han Zhengxiu. He knew that Gu Qingchen's family was bankrupt, so they had no money left. Now he made her to spend more money, so he felt a little guilty. But he had no money, so he could only do this. However, Han Zhengxiu secretly made up his mind. He must make a lot of money in the future. He absolutely could not let the girl he liked spend money. Gu Qingchen could also see the thoughts of the two of them, so she said with a smile, "Fortunately, you two are here. Otherwise, we wouldn't even have a place to sit down and eat. I feel that it's a shame that those scalpers didn't resell the tickets here. It's really a big loss." Han Zhengxiu and Yan Xiaoju felt that they were still useful after hearing his words. They were no longer as reserved as before. The three of them ate and rested at the same time. Then, an uninvited guest arrived. "The three of you, go somewhere else. I want to sit here." The person who spoke was a very beautiful and dazzling girl. She was quite energetic. When she spoke, she did not sound bossy. It was as if it was normal for her to be offered a seat. Han Zhengxiu was stunned. He looked at the girl. She should be around their age, but she was very well dressed. One look and one could tell that she was not from an ordinary family. "It's occupied. You can find another place." Han Zhengxiu directly refused. The girl was slightly stunned, as if she was a little surprised. Chapter 57. My brother is very handsome. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 57. My brother is very handsome. The girl looked conflicted for a long time. She looked around and said, "The other places are not as good as this one. I can have a pleasant view here. I like this place." Han Zhengxiu did not care about that. He rolled his eyes and said, "I like the pyramids too. Do I have to turn myself into a mummy and send myself in?" Pfft. Yan Xiaoju and Gu Qingchen laughed out loud. Gu Qingchen had finally saw Han Zhengxiu's ability to bluff. It was no wonder that he could become a top lawyer. The girl seemed to be stunned for a moment. Gu Qingchen thought that the girl would go crazy, but she did not expect the girl to also laugh out loud. She did not seem unhappy. "I see, you like the pyramids. Do you want to go in? I can bring you in. You don't have to turn yourself into a mummy." Gu Qingchen and Yan Xiaoju looked at each other. They then looked at Han Zhengxiu, who was stunned, and burst out laughing. It was rare for Han Zhengxiu to be retorted by someone. It was a little funny to see him suffer. "Is that so? I often go there in my dreams, so I don't need you to bring me." Han Zhengxiu replied rudely. The girl blinked her beautiful big eyes, then smiled and said, "Are you mocking me for daydreaming?" Han Zhengxiu only said, "Not bad, you actually get my point." The girl pouted. "You don't believe me? Humph, I must bring you to the pyramid. Otherwise, you'll really think that I'm joking with you." Han Zhengxiu ignored her. The girl only remembered her original intention after a while. "Anyway, I just said that I want to sit here." Han Zhengxiu frowned. He had said it clearly just now. Did the girl not understand? Just as Han Zhengxiu was about to chase her away, Gu Qingchen looked at the girl and said, "We haven't rested enough yet. If you want to sit here, we don't mind if you share with us." The girl thought for a moment and said, "Okay then." But I'm with my brother. He went to buy me cotton candy. The girl seemed to be very sweet when she mentioned her brother. It was obvious that this girl definitely had a nice brother. Although Han Jingxiu did not like this girl very much, he gave Gu Qingchen some face since Gu Qingchen allowed this girl to sit with them. After the girl sat down, she looked at Gu Qingchen and said cheerfully, I'm Tang Yu. What are your names? Gu Qingchen. I'm Yan Xiaoju. I'm Han Jingxiu. The three of them introduced themselves very quickly. Tang Yu seemed to be quite happy and said with a smile, it's a pleasure to meet you all. I'm so happy today that I've made 3 new friends. Han Jingxiu glanced at Tang Yu. You're a little overly friendly. Tang Yu didn't seem to understand what Han Jingxiu meant and nodded with a smile. Yes, yes. My brother said the same thing about me. You really understand me. Bvec Han Jingxiu's face instantly darkened and he waved his hand, I don't understand you. I really don't understand you. Don't flatter me. Pfft. Gu Qingchen and Yan Xiaoju were laughing hysterically. Gu Qingchen was indeed different from the past. Her heart was much more open. Perhaps it was because she met Yan Xiaoju. Yan Xiaoju was the same. Today was the happiest day she had in more than 10 years. She did not need to think too much. All she needed to do was to laugh foolishly when she was feeling happy. Brother, I'm over here. Come here. Tang Yu saw her brother and shouted at him. She waved her hand. She turned around and smiled at Gu Qingchen and the other 2. Let me introduce my brother to you. He's very handsome. Then, Gu Qingchen saw an old acquaintance and was a little surprised. Xiaoye, I sacrificed so much to buy you cotton candy that I didn't have to wait in line. Tell me, how do you want to thank me? Tang Feng's tone was quite slovenly, but one could tell that he doted on Tang Yu. Tang Yu saw the cotton candy in Tang Feng's hand and immediately pounced on him. She snatched the cotton candy. She then looked at Gu Qingchen and the other 2, and hurriedly said, Brother, why don't you sacrifice a little more to buy 3 more? I've made 3 new friends. I can't be the only one eating. Hurry up and go. Only then did Tang Feng notice the few people behind Tang Yu. He originally frowned, thinking that Tang Yu was too rash and was too careless in making friends. But when he saw Gu Qingchen, his brows relaxed, and his lips curled into a smile. So it's little Qingchen. What a coincidence. Fate really likes to put us together. Tang Yu was a little surprised. She looked at her brother, Tang Feng, brother, you also know Gu Qingchen. Huh, what a coincidence. Tang Feng smiled meaningfully. His almond-like eyes were sparkling like glass. Yan Xiaoju was stunned. She did not expect a man to be so beautiful. Han Jingxiu became alert. He looked at Tang Feng and did not say anything. Instead, he asked Gu Qingchen, do you know him? Gu Qingchen nodded and answered Han Jingxiu's question. Then, she looked at the dazzling Tang Feng and said, President Tang, I didn't expect that you also like to hang out in the amusement park. In Gu Qingchen's opinion, Tang Feng should be the insulator of this kind of place. He should be surrounded by women. Of course, my brother isn't interested in this kind of place. If I didn't force him to come, he wouldn't have come here. Great. If everyone knows each other, we can hang out together. Tang Yu seemed to be very happy. She didn't have many friends, so she was a little excited to meet Gu Qingchen and the others today. The reason was simple. Tang Feng did not like many people that she wanted to befriend with. However, he also knew Gu Qingchen and he did not show any displeasure. This meant that she finally had a friend to make. Tang Feng smiled and nodded. Tang Yu became even more excited. She pulled Gu Qingchen and the other 2 and was about to rush into play, but Tang Feng said again, Little Qingchen and I still have something to talk about. You guys go play first. We'll come find you later. Tang Yu treated her brother's words as an imperial edict. She enthusiastically pulled Yan Xiaoju and Han Jingxiu to play. Yan Xiaoju and Han Jingxiu were not used to it, but they were forced to follow Tang Yu's enthusiasm. I say, you're really strange. Why are you pulling me? I still have to be with Gu Qingchen. I'm not at ease with her alone with a stranger. Han Jingxiu originally wanted to stay with Gu Qingchen for a while longer, but he was pulled away by Tang Yu. I want to have fun here. Besides, my brother and Qingchen know each other. They have something to talk about. Why are you want to be a third wheel? Let's go. I'll take you to play with the pirate ship first. I'll take you to the pyramid when I have the chance. Han Jingxiu rolled his eyes, expressing his helplessness when he met a girl like Tang Yu. Yan Xiaoju quickly adapted to Tang Yu's personality. Although Tang Yu was obviously a rich young lady, she did not have a tsundere personality, nor did she have any princess disease. She was lively and passionate, which was quite likable. On the other side, Tang Feng crossed his long and slender legs and looked at Gu Qingchen. That day. What did you and young Master Rong talk about? I heard that you became his personal physician. Is it true? You also know medical skills. Chapter 58. Tang Feng was afraid of heights. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 58. Tang Feng was afraid of heights. With your relationship with young Master Rong, you don't need to ask me about these things, do you? Gu Qingchen did not forget that after Tang Feng brought her to room 1208 that day, he wanted to stay and watch what happened next. In the end, he did not get what he wanted. Gu Qingchen was invited in by young Master Rong, but Tang Feng was locked outside the door. Tang Feng narrowed his almond-like eyes, exuding an infinite charm. Some of the women around him saw him and were attracted to him. Only Gu Qingchen had an indifferent look on her face. Little Qingchen, I realized. Your eyes don't seem to work very well. Either that or you don't know how to appreciate beauty. Gu Qingchen greeted her with a smile. She took a sip of the hot drink in her glass. I think your subtext is that I'm not mesmerized by your beauty, so it's just that my eyes aren't good, or I don't know how to appreciate beauty. You're indeed very smart. It's just that smart women aren't easy to please. Only dumb women are lovable. Gu Qingchen shrugged. For the sake of my next generation, I think I have to be smarter. If my children become infatuated with someone like you, then I will keep crying until I run out of tears. The curve in the corner of Tang Feng's eyes deepened. He kept staring at Gu Qingchen. After a long while, he leaned back on the chair and shouted, boring, little Qingchen. You're just like Rong Yu. You're not interesting at all. Gu Qingchen smiled and did not comment. However, when Rong Yu was mentioned, Gu Qingchen was still thinking about how he looked when he left yesterday. She did not know how he was doing now. As Rong Yu's personal physician, should she go and check on him? Little Qingchen, what are you thinking about? You're so engrossed in your thoughts. Could it be? You're thinking about Rong Yu. Tang Feng's smile was very annoying, and there was a hint of ambiguity in his eyes. Gu Qingchen raised her eyes and glanced at him. Young Master Tang, are you very free? Are you kidding me? I have to manage the huge Tang group. How could I be free? Oh. Gu Qingchen raised her eyebrows. Since you're so busy, how can you still have time to gossip? Young Master Tang, take your time. I'm going to play. Every time Tang Feng saw her, he would tease her. Gu Qingchen felt very bored, so she stopped chatting with Tang Feng. Gu Qingchen walked towards Han Jingxiu and the other two, and Tang Feng followed her. As Tang Feng walked, he leaned against Gu Qingchen's side. Tsk, how could you get angry so easily? I bet you're enraged when you're interacting with young Master Rong every day. You mean, young Master Rong is as boring as you? Pfft. Fatality. It was definitely a blatant provocation to Tang Feng. He had initially wanted to tell Gu Qingchen about Rong Yu's habits and past deeds, but now he had decided not to. Even if Gu Qingchen begged him, he would not tell her. He would just let Gu Qingchen run into a wall with Rong Yu. When the time came, she would know that he was much cuter than Rong Yu. Rong Yu was the big bad wolf, and he was definitely a little white rabbit. Tang Yu was having a great time. She wanted to try the roller coaster, but Yan Xiaoju was a little dizzy and decided not to play. Tang Yu pulled Han Jingxiu along. Gu Qingchen was also ready to play. Tang Yu asked her brother to accompany Gu Qingchen, but Tang Feng put on a long face. "Oh my, I was so happy that I forgot. My brother is afraid of heights. He doesn't dare to play with these things. How about Qingchen, I play with you again later." As soon as Tang Yu said this, everyone looked at Tang Feng. Han Jingxiu glanced at Tang Feng and said, "A man is afraid of heights and can't even ride a roller coaster. This is really rare." When Han Jingxiu saw Tang Feng's sloppy behavior, he disliked him very much. So, he didn't hold back when he spoke to Tang Feng. You must be joking. When did I say that I'm afraid of heights? I didn't play with these amusement rides before because they were too childish." Tang Yu blinked her eyes and looked at her brother. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Brother, these amusement rides seem to have been specially customized by you from abroad." Han Jingxiu seemed to have understood something. Previously, Gu Qingchen called Tang Feng as President Tang. Now that he heard Tang Yu say this, he instantly understood. "You guys are from the Tang group." It was not a question, but a confirmation. Tang Yu blinked her eyes and nodded, "That's right, my brother is young Master Tang of the Tang group. This Haitian park is his project. How is it? Isn't it fun?" In this era, the facilities of Haitian Park were definitely ahead of the times. It was very fun. Han Jingxiu and Yan Xiaoju were both shocked. The atmosphere instantly turned cold. They did not expect that the person they casually met was actually someone from the Tang group. Before Han Jingxiu and Yan Xiaoju could react, it was their turn to ride the roller coaster. Tang Yu pulled Han Jingxiu onto the roller coaster. Gu Qingchen also walked onto it. Tang Feng's expression changed several times before he finally took a step forward. Tang Yu and Han Jingxiu were in the same car, while Gu Qingchen and Tang Feng were in the same car. It started very soon. Gu Qingchen looked at Tang Feng, who was extremely nervous after getting on the roller coaster. She suddenly found it interesting. Tang Feng really had a lot of little problems. He also had the mental cleanliness disorder of a Virgo. He was very curious and now he was afraid of heights. After one round, Gu Qingchen's ears were tortured by Tang Feng's terrified screams. She had never known that a man could scream like that. After getting off the roller coaster, Tang Feng's face had already turned green. Tang Yu was still not satisfied. She pulled Han Jingxiu and played again. Tang Feng immediately ran away. In the end, he even left without saying goodbye. Only his bodyguards were left to protect Tang Yu's safety. After playing for a day, the four of them were quite happy. When Tang Yu learned that Gu Qingchen and the other two had also applied for Hongfeng Elite School, she immediately screamed. "You guys are coming to Hongfeng too? That's wonderful. We'll be schoolmates from now on. I'm already in the 3rd year of high school. When you guys come, I'll take care of you." After getting familiar with the few of them, Tang Yu's personality also became very manly. Han Jingxiu and Yan Xiaoju also accepted Tang Yu as the young miss of the Tang group. They felt that she had a very good personality, and she didn't have many bad habits. The few of them had a fun time, but they still had to go home. When Tang Yu left, she was reluctant to leave. Fortunately, they could meet at school later, so she was not so sad. Yan Xiaoju also went home. Although she had to face a lot of pressure after going home, she felt that she could endure it today. Gu Qingchen went home at night and told his family about the interview. The next day, she still carried her school bag to school. The school had also undergone a drastic change. Shi Wei did not come to school and took a long leave. Lu Ying was taken away by the police in class. This caused a sensation in the school. There were rumors that Lu Ying was able to become the homeroom teacher because of Shi Wei's father, Shi Tian. Lu Ying received a lot of benefits from Shi Tian. There was also rumor that Shi Tian was arrested. It seemed that he was kidnapped and killed somebody. It spread wildly in the school. Some people were even speculating whether Lu Ying was involved in the kidnapping. The school quickly reacted. They immediately removed all of Lu Ying's posts. When Lu Ying returned, she would probably receive a dismissal letter from the school. Chapter 59. You need to be educated. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 59. You need to be educated. 3 days later, Gu Qingchen received a notice from Hongfeng Elite School. She had been accepted. Han Zhengxiu also received the notice and was extremely excited. Gu Qingchen was also quite happy. She was happy to be able to study in a talent cradle like Hongfeng. Because she had her own plans. Since she wanted to find the reason for her change, she had to find the secret research institute that she had been brought to. The person who was able to establish that kind of research institute definitely had extraordinary strength. Therefore, if she wanted to investigate, she had to have absolute strength. Otherwise, it would be like hitting a rock with an egg, or even losing her life. She had to set up all the forces by herself. She could rely on others, but she was more willing to believe in herself. After all, the change in her body was too strange and could not be discovered by others. Ever since she had this idea, she had been calculating. Since she had the 5 million from Tang Feng and the 100 Herb Hall, as well as her special ability, she wanted to set up her own forces. It was not impossible. What she lacked was talent. Han Zhengxiu was a talent. When Han Zhengxiu proposed to go to Hongfeng, Gu Qingchen had a flash of inspiration. She finally knew where she was going to get talent. That's right, it was Hongfeng. In the past 3 days, many things had happened at the school. The transfer of staff and the departure of students. Shi Wei had dropped out of school. Shi Tian had been convicted of a crime, but nobody expected that he would be sentenced to life imprisonment. It was just a kidnapping, and there were no casualties. However, he was actually sentenced to life imprisonment. Gu Qingchen did not need to think to know who was interfering behind the scenes. Continue_reading on freewebnovel.com. Actually, Gu Qingchen was thinking too much. Rong Yu was not involved in this matter at all. The leaders of City Y were all alarmed. This matter had to be handled seriously. They had to show Rong Yu their concern and seriousness. That was why they made such a decision. Therefore, people who had reached a certain height did not need to speak at all. Naturally, many people would act according to their wishes. Shi Wei could not accept such devastating blow. She said that she would not go to school even if she died. Previously, her sense of superiority was overflowing when she saw Gu Qingchen's family went bankrupt. But now, it was her family's turn to decline. Shi Wei was unwilling to go to school no matter what. She did not want to be mocked by the others. Mom, transfer me to another school. I want to go to Hongfeng. Shi Wei crossed her arms in front of her chest. She had an angry look. At this moment, her mother was still thinking about how to smooth things over and get Shi Tian out. But this time, nobody wanted to help her at all. This made Shi Wei's mother very depressed. Shi Wei's mother's family's status was not low either. Back then, she insisted to marry Shi Tian no matter what, causing the people in the family to cut off contact with her. This time, because of Shi Tian, she shamelessly went back to her family to seek help. Unfortunately, her family directly told her not to think about saving Shi Tian. They told her that the most urgent thing was to quickly get a divorce. When she went home and told her daughter Shi Wei agreed, "Mom, hurry up and get a divorce. After that, we'll go back to Grandma's house and get my uncle to help me with the transfer procedures. Isn't Uncle the director of Hongfeng? He must have a solution for this matter." Shi Wei's mother's name was Jiang Xian. Jiang Xian thought for a moment and could only agree with her daughter's solution. "Okay, but you can't rush the transfer. We have to go back first. I'll talk to your uncle about it again." Shi Wei waved her hand impatiently. "I don't care anyway. Just do it as soon as possible. Wei, I'll go see your dad in a while and sign the divorce procedures. Do you want to go and see him together?" Shi Wei said angrily, "I'm not going to that filthy place. Why would I want to see him? I don't have a criminal father. Don't ever talk about him in the future. If people find out that my dad is a prisoner for life, I'll be mocked by them." Jiang Xian opened her mouth but did not say anything in the end. Shi Wei's life was not going well. At the same time, the girls who usually flattered Shi Wei were also a little worried. Especially Wang Meili and Ma Shihan. When the two of them saw Gu Qingchen, they were like mice seeing a cat. They had been avoiding Gu Qingchen. Gu Qingchen could not be bothered with the two of them. There was no need to lose her status for the sake of two useless people. In the past 2 days, Gu Qingchen had met a person who had an attitude problem. This person was none other than the school's popular and handsome guy, Ngu. Ngu found out that Shi Wei's family was in trouble. He knew Shi Wei's father had committed a crime and Shi Wei had dropped out of school. Hence, he had been trying to contact Shi Wei. Unfortunately, Shi Wei had been hiding at home these days because she was afraid of humiliation. She didn't even see Ngu. The reason why Shi Wei wanted to go to Hongfeng was because she knew that Ngu had secretly signed up to go to Hongfeng. Her current status was awkward. When she returned to her grandmother's home with her mother and gained back her status, she would enter Hongfeng with Ngu. Ngu would still be hers. "Qingchen, how have you been recently? I heard that you were kidnapped. Are you hurt?" Nge's voice was still as gentle as ever. He was like a gentle prince on a white horse. In any case, he was definitely the type that little girls liked. Unfortunately, Gu Qingchen had long seen through Nge's true nature. He was just a wolf in sheep's clothing. In Gu Qingchen's eyes, a man like Ngu was even more disgusting than Shi Wei. Gu Qingchen had a high EQ, so she didn't want to bother with someone like Ngu. She simply said, "Thank you for your concern. I'm fine." After saying that, Gu Qingchen went around Ngu and continued to walk forward. Ngu was stunned for a moment. When he realized what was going on, he quickly followed Gu Qingchen. As they walked, he continued to ask, "By the way, what exactly happened? Was it really Shi Wei's father who kidnapped you?" Ngu just wanted to know if Shi Wei could still be used as a chess piece. Shi Wei's biggest reliance was Shi Tian. If Shi Tian really went to prison, he would really have to stay away from Shi Wei. He did not like Shi Wei to begin with. If Shi Wei's family did not have money, there was no need for him to play with Shi Wei. Gu Qingchen stopped in her tracks. Her pair of clear eyes seemed to be able to see through everyone's thoughts. This made Nge's eyes light up and he panicked a little. Then, he laughed at himself for being too nervous. How could Gu Qingchen see through him? Why should you know? Does it have something to do with you? Gu Qingchen raised her eyebrows slightly. Initially, she did not want to bother with a hypocrite like Ngu. However, he was never going to stop. If she did not teach Ngu a lesson, he would really think that everyone was under his control. Of course not. I just feel that Shi Wei's father does not seem to be someone who would do something like kidnapping. Could there be some misunderstanding? No matter what, Wei is your classmate. If you have anything to say, we can all sit down and talk about it. Gu was still the same compassionate and kind-hearted person. Gu Qingchen wanted to vomit when she saw Gu acted like that. For a moment, Gu Qingchen actually had the urge to remove his fake mask. F***ck, this kind of SC** bag really needs to be educated properly. Gu Qingchen scolded in her heart. Chapter 60. You will regret it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 60. You will regret it. Oh. You know so much about Shi Tian and the kidnapping. Could it be that you are also related to this kidnapping case? 2 days ago, Captain Liang asked me if there were any other suspicious people who might be involved in the kidnapping case. It seems that I have really missed someone. Boom. Gu felt as if he was struck by lightning. His heartbeat accelerated as he looked at Gu Qingchen in disbelief. Don't spout nonsense. I have nothing to do with the kidnapping case. I'm not familiar with Shi Tian either. I'm just curious. Nge's expression changed drastically. Finally, he no longer looked like a savior. He was panicking. He was afraid that Gu Qingchen would call the police in the next second and say that he had something to do with the kidnapping case. Oh. You have nothing to do with it. Judging from your tone just now, I really thought that you were very familiar with this kidnapping case. Everyone wanted Shi Tian to be arrested, but you were the only one who interceded on his behalf. You're really very suspicious. Previously, Captain Liang told me to pay more attention to the people around us in the next few days. Those who appear to be unrelated but come out to intercede are very suspicious. Nge's heart sank. He had already been able to pass Hongfeng's interview, so he was already very calm. However, now that he was suspicious of involving the kidnapping, he naturally could not remain calm. If he was not careful, he would be implicated by Shi Tian. He absolutely could not do such a thing. Qingchen, you might have misunderstood. I don't really understand the situation. Shi Wei and I are friends, so I just asked some questions out of curiosity. The Shi family's matters have nothing to do with me. And Shi Wei, she's the one who keeps pestering me. Actually, the person I've always liked is you. Qingchen, you mustn't misunderstand. Gu said without any shame. He didn't even need to make a rough draft. It was disgusting to hear such words coming out of his mouth. After listening to Nge's words, Gu Qingchen sneered. There was obvious disdain and contempt in her eyes as she said indifferently, Handsome, you're no acting anymore. Why did you cut ties with Shi Wei so quickly? It's not like you at all. Aren't you worried that one day, Shi Wei will become rich and powerful again? Don't you think it's too rash to change the bet so early? Gu Qingchen understood Nge's thoughts too well. He always wanted to rely on women to get to the top. A man like him was pretty much useless. After listening to Gu Qingchen's words, Nge's face darkened. His thoughts were exposed by Gu Qingchen. He could not accept Gu Qingchen revealed his original dark side. Gu Qingchen, I know that you've always hated me for not being with you and choosing Shi Wei instead. But you don't have to use such words to slander me. I have always relied on myself. Let me tell you, Hongfeng Elite School has already sent me an invitation. Do you know what this means? This meant that Hongfeng thought that I was a rare talent, so they sent me an invitation. I am not as bad as you said. Gu Qingchen, I misjudged you. You really disappoint me. His words were righteous and full of emotion. Unfortunately, the person listening was Gu Qingchen. How could she be moved by his words? She would only think that Ngu was a hypocrite. The girls in Hongfeng don't have as low an IQ as Shi Wei, and the boys in Hongfeng are very outstanding. How could you still think that you can get a rich girl with your tiny bit of talent? I wish you good luck. After saying that, Gu Qingchen took big strides and left without holding back. To deal with a person like Ngu, she needed to strike down his confidence, expose his true colors, and step on him ruthlessly. Ngu stood there, his face gloomy and uncertain. He was completely different from his usual appearance. He no longer had the image of a warm and handsome man. Gu Qingchen, I will make you regret it. One day, you will beg to stay by my side. Ngu looked at Gu Qingchen's back and swore fiercely in his heart. He did not have any feelings for Shi Wei, but he still had feelings for Gu Qingchen. He had always thought that only someone with her family background and looked like her was worthy of him. Originally, he had wanted to be with Gu Qingchen. Unfortunately, the Gu family was in decline, so he had no choice but to change his plan. What he didn't know was that Gu Qingchen had also received an invitation from Hongfeng. On the other side, Shi Wei was also planning to enter Hongfeng. During the weekend, there were many people in the 100 Herb Hall, including Xiang Yang, Wen Qing and the others. They were all here, waiting for Gu Qingchen's orders. Have you all finished handing over your work? Gu Qingchen was asking Xiang Yang. Xiang Yang needed time to hand over his accounting work. Xiang Yang nodded and said formally, we have all handed our works. I've already left my job, and so have the other brothers. Ms. Gu, we'll all listen to your orders. Little Bean agreed, that's right. My boss knew that I was going to quit. He asked me to stay a few times, but I directly rejected him. From now on, I will be at your service. Hee hee. The others also nodded. Anyway, they had quit their jobs just because of Gu Qingchen's words. Gu Qingchen looked around at the crowd and nodded solemnly, since everyone trusts me so much, I won't let you down. From today onwards, you are my people. Wen Qing looked a little haggard, but he was still in good spirits. He must have been tired from taking care of his wife and son. Eddie et benefactor, we still don't understand what you mean. What do you want us to do? Ever since Gu Qingchen helped him, Wen Qing had saw Gu Qingchen as his benefactor and treated Gu Qingchen with extra respect. That's right, I do have a plan and I need your support. Gu Qingchen was straightforward, and everyone listened carefully. You're all from City Y, and you know City Y very well. I want to buy some land, and I need your help. Land. Ms. Gu, why did you want to buy that? In this era, many people had not realized the importance of land. Most of the houses that people lived in nowadays were allocated by the state. Gu Qingchen had rebirth. She was very clear about the direction of the country's development. If she could be at the top of the trend, she would be able to quickly establish her own power. If she went to buy land now, in a few years, real estate would be very popular. When she had land in her hands, she could make a lot of money. You don't need to care about this. You just need to pay more attention to whether there is any land to be sold in City Y. You have to keep this matter as secret and handled in a low-key manner. If there are any suitable lands, you can inform me. Especially pay attention to the suburbs. If there are agricultural land, that would be even better. Although the city was booming now, in another 10 years or so, agricultural land would be the king. With land in their hands, they would not have to worry about anything. But now, Gu Qingchen did not care about that. She just asked them to pay attention to the situation in the suburbs. Okay, that's easy. We are all people in City Y, so we could get a lot of rumors. Oh, I know that there is a lot of empty land west of Xiqing district. I passed by it when I was driving a taxi. It's quite desolate there. West of Xiqing district. Gu Qingchen's eyes lit up.